Welcome to Wrestling Sphere. In the world of professional wrestling, every strike and every flip carries a deadly risk. Some moments may seem like just a show, but they almost turned into real tragedies. Today we'll look back at 10 wrestlers who survived near-fatal accidents right in the ring, sharing stories that are both intense and chilling. If you love uncovering the stories behind wrestling spotlight, don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you won't miss our upcoming exciting videos. Let's get started. Number 10. Chesaro, the fall that left the crowd frozen. Throughout WWE history, there have been countless accidents, but Chesaro's fateful fall at Clash of Champions 2016 stands out as one of the most chilling moments ever broadcast live. It was the final match in the best-of-7 series between Chesaro and Sheamus, two seasoned warriors, both literally and figuratively. The match was intense and fierce like a real battle. Then Chesaro aimed for a highlight moment. He built up speed, launched himself over the ropes, and charged at Sheamus with what seemed like a perfect tope. But in an instant, everything turned into a nightmare. Instead of landing on his shoulder or back as usual, Chesaro hit the hard floor outside the ring head and neck first. The sickening thud echoed through the arena, followed by a collective gasp from the audience. Fans watching at home were stunned into silence. No one dared speak, all fearing the worst, paralysis or even death. Yet, like forged from Swiss steel, Chesaro not only survived but continued the match like an unbreakable warrior. Nobody could explain how he escaped serious injury. It was nothing short of a miracle, a moment on the razor's edge between life and death that etched itself into wrestling fans' memories forever. Number 9. Big E, the slam that changed everything. In the world of WWE, few moments are more terrifying than when a match takes a sudden, unscripted turn. That's exactly what happened on the March 11, 2022 episode of SmackDown, when Big E, one of WWE's most beloved and powerful superstars, suffered a neck injury that left fans and fellow wrestlers frozen in shock. It was supposed to be a routine tag team match, full of energy and hard-hitting action. Big E, as always, brought his trademark charisma and intensity. But then came the suplex, a belly-to-belly executed by Ridge Holland on the outside of the ring. In a fraction of a second, things went horribly wrong. Big E didn't rotate properly. Instead of landing flat on his back or side, he crashed headfirst into the ground. The thud was sickening. The cameras quickly cut away. Commentary fell silent. The crowd, once roaring, was instantly hushed. For a terrifying moment, Big E lay motionless. Emergency personnel rushed in. Later, he would confirm a broken C1 and C6 vertebrae, injuries that could have easily led to paralysis or death. Miraculously, there was no spinal cord damage. Big E's positivity shone even in the darkest moment. He smiled in his hospital bed, reassuring fans. But the incident served as a sobering reminder. Wrestling is real in its danger. One wrong angle, one bad landing, and everything can change. That night, Big E didn't just survive. He became a symbol of strength, luck, and resilience. Number 8. Hayabusa, the fall that ended a legend. If there's a common factor in the most devastating wrestling accidents, it's faulty landings. One wrong twist, one slight slip, enough to turn the ring into a place that seals a fate. And no one illustrates this better than Hayabusa. He was a symbol in Japan, especially in frontier martial arts wrestling, where fans cheered not just for glory but for his wildly daring style. The mask, the suicidal moves, and the ability to turn any risky stunt into art, that was Hayabusa. But it was exactly one of those artistic moments that took everything away. On October 22, 2001, during a match with Mammoth Sasaki, Hayabusa attempted a springboard moonsault, a flip off the middle rope with a spin in midair. But this time he slipped. His body bent backward and his head slammed hard onto the mat. Severe spinal damage and shattered vertebrae left him paralyzed on the spot. Strangely, nearly 15 years after the accident, Hayabusa was able to stand again. Not in the ring but on his own 2 feet just a year before he passed away. A moment both tragic and deeply moving. It's a chilling lesson. When you live for the ring, the price you pay can be everything. Number 7. Tez, the spike piledriver that nearly sent him home. It seems that in wrestling, the head and neck are favorite targets for nightmares. In modern WWE, piledrivers are almost extinct, unless reckless wrestlers like CM Punk or John Cena sneak one in like mischievous kids waiting to get caught by the principal. The piledriver itself is dangerous, but the real killer move is the spike piledriver, where one wrestler holds the opponent upside down while another jumps from the ropes, driving the victim's head forcefully into the mat. Just hearing about it sends shivers down the spine. Taz experienced the full horror of this one dark night at ECW. His opponents, Too Cold Scorpio and Dean Malenko. When they teamed up to perform the spike piledriver, no one, not even them, expected the impact to be so severe. Taz's neck broke instantly. His head crashed down with the full weight of two men crushing his vulnerable spine. But it was Taz. He still finished the match as if nothing had happened. It wasn't until he reached the emergency room that a doctor looked at him, expressionless. "You know, that move should have killed you." Number 6. Mick Foley, the chokehold that seemed impossible to escape. If anyone ever wagered their life as a performance stake, it's Mick Foley. From falling off the Hell in a Cell cage against The Undertaker to brutal chair shots from The Rock in the I Quit match, Foley taught fans one simple truth. His pain is your entertainment. But no accident left a more permanent and terrifying mark than that fateful night in Munich, where Foley nearly died because of the ring ropes themselves. During a match with Vader, Foley, true to his extreme style, wanted to create the illusion of being hanged. He slipped his head between two ropes and let them tighten around his neck. Usually this is just a visual stunt to hype the crowd. But that night there was a deadly mistake. The ropes were tightened way too much. Foley slid his head in easily, but couldn't pull it back out. His neck was squeezed tight, his face changed color, and his breath started fading. He struggled, staggered, nearly blacked out before the horrified eyes of the audience. Finally, driven by an almost instinctual survival force, Foley freed himself. But the cost was devastating. Nearly his entire right ear was ripped off. Yes, you read that right, a whole ear fell to the mat. And he kept fighting as if nothing had happened. Foley isn't just a legend. He's a legend that simply can't be killed. Number 5. Tyson Kid, one fall that ended a career. Sometimes the price of a wrestling career isn't paid in blood or sweat, but in a single moment when your own body betrays you. Tyson Kid, a former Heart Dungeon student, a quietly dedicated technician with relentless work ethic, almost became one of WWE's quietest tragedies. For years he played the role of a reliable underdog helping others shine, until finally his moment arrived. Kid teamed up with Chesaro and magic happened. Offstage they were close friends. In the ring their chemistry was flawless. They won tag team titles and revived faith in technical wrestling during the PG era. Then came the fateful night in June 2015. During a dark match against Samoa Joe, Kid took a muscle buster, an old move performed thousands of times before. But this time he landed wrong. Very wrong. The result? A broken neck, severe spinal damage, and doctors had to install 4 screws, a metal rod, and a brace in his neck to save his life. It sounds like a tragic movie plot, but Kid faced it for real. Only 5% of people with injuries like Kid survive. Not only did he survive, but he moved forward, though no longer as a wrestler. Tyson Kid didn't walk away from the ring. The ring walked away from him. Number 4. Draz, one fateful second that changed a life forever. One of the most horrific accidents ever to happen in WWE wasn't marked by bloodshed, brutal strikes, or supernatural moves. It was a pure accident, and that made it even more terrifying. Darren Draz, a former football player who once threw up live on TV just to earn his spot in WWE, stepped into a fateful match against D'Lo Brown in 1999, at the peak of the Attitude Era. Just one slight misstep could shatter a career, even a life, like glass falling onto stone. That night, Draz wore a rather loose shirt, seemingly insignificant, but it prevented D'Lo from holding the correct position when lifting him for a running powerbomb. As a result, Draz didn't land on his back as planned, but on his head and neck, quite literally. 2 neck discs were broken, his spinal cord severely injured, and just like that, everything ended. WWE never aired that match and likely never will. Draz didn't die, but he lost the ability to walk. Every day became a fight just to move his arms, just to breathe like a normal person. Yet, impressively, he never blamed anyone, not even D'Lo. Draz's accident is a painful reminder. Behind the bright lights and glamour, sometimes the price paid is a lifetime. Number 3. Gangrell, when a performance almost became a funeral. Few would have guessed that Gangrell, the vampire character who emerged from pools of blood, nearly faced death itself, right there in a WWE ring. In the late 90s, during the blazing Attitude Era, violence and horror limits were pushed to their extremes. Gangrell's gothic faction, the Brood, was clashing with the Ministry of Darkness, an evil group led by The Undertaker. A scripted segment was planned. Big Boss Man would wrap a rope around Gangrell's neck, then throw him over the ropes, simulating a hanging right inside the ring. The catch: The rope was never properly inspected. No safety hooks. No protective gear. And Gangrell, driven by his passion for performance, accepted the risk. When Boss Man tossed him backwards over the ropes, the fall tightened the rope terrifyingly around Gangrel's neck. It was no longer pretend. No longer acting. Gangrell was actually being strangled and hung. He felt the world darken around him, cheers fade, and his eyes lose focus. In that moment, not a staged death but a real one. Death was inches from his throat. Fortunately, he was released just in time. No serious injury, no fatal accident. But Gangrell never forgot that feeling, how close he came to death by a single slow rope release. Number 2. Steve Austin. Not just a broken neck, he almost got poisoned by a truck. If anyone ever survived purely because of sheer toughness, it's Stone Cold Steve Austin. People often recall the botched tombstone piledriver Owen Hart delivered at SummerSlam 1997, crushing Austin's neck, causing serious cervical spine damage, and nearly leaving him wheelchair-bound for life. But that's only half of his survival story. Few know that 2 years later, in 1999, Austin nearly died again, not from wrestling moves this time but from truck exhaust fumes. In a famous episode of Raw, Austin drove a massive monster truck crashing onto the stage while The Rock was holding a fake funeral for him. The scene aired flawlessly as if nothing went wrong, but behind the scenes, it was a literal fight for breath. Austin was instructed to sit inside the truck parked backstage. The engine had to stay running, ready to roll, but the area had no ventilation whatsoever. Due to a delayed cue, Austin was stuck inside for almost 3 minutes, inhaling poisonous exhaust. He began to feel dizzy, his eyes grew heavy, and he almost passed out behind the wheel. Ironically, just minutes later, he appeared on stage smashing through the entire funeral. And nobody knew that Austin had nearly become the real star of his own fake funeral. Number 1. XPac, torn anus, and nearly killed by his own signature move. After a series of injuries to the neck, spine, and skull, here comes a wound that's not above the waist, but no less painful. XPac, once a core member of the legendary DX, was known for giving it his all in the ring. One of his signature moves was the Bronco Buster, a somewhat unusual move where he would charge to the ring corner, leap onto a seated opponent, and bounce repeatedly as if teasing rather than fighting. It looked funny, but it nearly killed its creator. In 2013, during an independent exhibition match, XPac attempted his usual Bronco Buster. This time, the opponent dodged and XPac crashed directly into the corner, landing hard with his lower body against the padding and tearing the tissue around his anus. It sounds ridiculous, but the consequences were serious. XPac started bleeding uncontrollably, pushed through to finish the match, but then collapsed and was rushed to the hospital immediately. Doctors warned that if he had delayed treatment by even a few minutes, he could have bled to death. There are hundreds of ways to go down in wrestling. Submissions, collisions, broken necks. But getting betrayed by your own but while bouncing is truly a one-of-a-kind disaster. So there you have it. We've just explored 10 near-death stories of wrestlers right in the ring, painful, chilling moments that also reveal their incredible courage. Who do you think was the most amazing? Or which story surprised you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'm really eager to hear from you. If you found this video interesting and helpful, don't forget to like and share it so more people can discover these stories. And be sure to subscribe to Wrestling Sphere to stay updated with the hottest wrestling stories and events. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.